Colorado's neediest families will continue to get food benefits after a win in court today. The Trump administration wanted to force Colorado to recertify 100,000 benefit recipients in a month or lose that funding. Our Marshall Zellinger explains what went down and who's impacted.
Applying for food benefit assistance in Colorado is not a small task. To get government funds for fruits, cereal, vegetables, that requires a substantial personal audit.
Federal requirement is that we recertify every 12 months. In Colorado, we've chosen to recertify every 6 months.
Abby McClellan is the state's food assistance director. The state supervises the county-administered SNAP programs. To qualify, low-income families need to reveal a lot.
There's a lengthy application where you need to provide information on yourself, on every member of your household, all income from every source, earned and unearned income, and all expenses, including utilities, shelter, how much you pay in rent. So you would need to provide receipts and documentation.
The Trump administration wanted to force Colorado into a pilot program where 100,000 SNAP recipients in 5 metro area counties would have to be recertified in a month. The state sued. And today in federal court, the Trump administration tried to say states with county-run SNAP programs like Colorado have fraud from recipients getting benefits from multiple counties.
If someone applied in multiple counties, that would be flagged by the system for a caseworker to take immediate action on. It's not possible for folks to receive benefits in multiple counties in Colorado.
For the Trump administration, you know your day in court is not going well when the judge asks repeatedly things like, "What is your evidence of fraud or whatever in Colorado?" You can't answer my question. You can't give me Colorado-specific information. And that's why I invited you to enlighten us with what that evidence is, and you have been unable to do so, I suspect because there isn't any. The judge granted Colorado's request for an injunction stopping the pilot program and the required recertification of 100,000 SNAP recipients in just 1 month. One of the other questions from the judge to the Trump administration was to explain why Colorado and Minnesota were targeted with this pilot program, suggesting more retaliation to Democrat-led states. The attorney's answer danced around Colorado-specific examples, and that led the judge to question repeatedly for Colorado-specific examples of fraud, and in the end, the judge did not believe he heard any.
I feel like we've seen this in a couple of different court cases involving the Trump administration on multiple topics, where the judges say, "Where's your evidence?" Trump team is like, "LOL, whatever." And yet, but everybody still had to go through the churn. They've had to go through the chaos. They've had to go through the panic of it.
It's like a fishing expedition. When we do open records requests, sometimes we know what we're seeking, and sometimes it's like, maybe there's something there. I'm sure there are in other examples, and I bet you we could maybe find it. Let's just do the request. Same thing. You're fishing for something that you want to be there, but you don't know that it's there.
So for the time being, judge said, stop. We're not doing it this way. Marshall, thank you. City of Denver is going to go to court with 36 other cities to challenge what the Trump administration is doing in Minneapolis right now, what the cities call an unlawful invasion. The cities filed a legal brief in federal court supporting Minnesota's request to halt the ICE operations in that state. The cities argue the Trump administration's Operation Metro Surge is targeting states like Minnesota to punish them for state and local policies, which the cities and the state say is a violation of the 10th Amendment's limits on federal power. The Trump administration says sending federal officers into Minneapolis is needed because local authorities will not enforce federal immigration law. In a statement today, Denver Mayor Mike Johnson called the operation a, quote, reckless and lethal ICE invasion, said, quote, and this is kind of a banger from a guy who hasn't said this before, ICE isn't keeping us safe from the bad guys. Right now, they are the bad guys. Nurses are gathering at the VA hospital in Aurora tonight for a candlelight vigil honoring one of their own. 37-year-old Alex Preddy, the guy killed by a federal agent in Minneapolis this month, was an ICU nurse at the VA hospital in Minneapolis. Preddy was protesting. He was recording federal immigration agents last weekend when he was swarmed by agents after helping a woman who had fallen. Top White House and Homeland Security officials then attempted to paint Preddy as a domestic terrorist. They called him a would-be assassin out to massacre law enforcement. There is no evidence on the many videos of the exchange that suggests that. Tonight's vigil in Aurora is part of a nationwide week of action organized by National Nurses United. That is the largest nurses union in the U.S. This is a picture of that vigil happening right now in Aurora at the VA. The union says that Preddy, quote, upheld his oath to advocate for and protect his patients and community to the very end. Well, it's time for Sonia Jaquez-Lewis to update her business cards. Right below former state senator, she can add convicted felon. Democrat from Longmont was convicted this afternoon on multiple felonies. She faked letters of support to try and get out of an ethics investigation. Fellow Democrats at the state capitol were investigating claims that Jaquez-Lewis serially mistreated her staff. And then they said that they discovered fabricated letters from at least one former employee. Jaquez-Lewis then headed for the exit, thinking, well, now there's no ethics investigation. And she walked straight into a criminal investigation. Today, a jury found her guilty on 4 felony counts of forgery and attempting to influence a public servant. She's set to be sentenced next month. Well, nothing says you're safe like someone going out of their way to tell you, don't worry if you're safe. You'll see those signs if you hike or bike at Rocky Flats National Wildlife Refuge, which sits on top of what once was a nuclear plant contaminated by radiation. But now there are new signs with a different message. Our Evan Krugel explains.
At the northern entrance to Rocky Flats, a large sign from U.S. Fish and Wildlife tells people it is perfectly safe to play here. But 50 feet away on Boulder County property sits a new sign with a much different message.
It catches your eye. It's bright yellow. It looks like a warning sign, and the first thing you see is a radioactive symbol. That is something that people have never had before. So I think this is really, really exciting.
Xcel Hersfeld has been pushing for these signs at entrances to the former nuclear weapons production facility that's now home to 15 miles of trails.
The more you learn about the history, the more you just wonder, like, how could someone possibly think this site is safe?
So there is still contamination in the environment.
Chris Allred works with Xcel at Boulder's Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center, which helped convince Boulder County commissioners and Westminster City Council members to place signs on their property near the entrances.
This is a major new precedent now to establish warning signage at Rocky Flats because it provides more transparency, which the public has not had.
The new signs tell people they may be exposed to radioactive material and encourage informed decisions before entering. This one faces Boulder County open space, meaning people will only see it if they're leaving county property and about to enter Rocky Flats. It's a different tone from the existing federal signs, which say if you visited the refuge hundreds of times a year, your dose still would be much less than a medical X-ray. Chris and Xcel understand the potential confusion from conflicting messages just feet apart.
I hope one day to see the signs that say that it's safe disappear, but for now I think this is the best we've ever had it.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife told us they'll send us a comment on those new signs tomorrow. In the meantime, that sign is now up at the Highway 128 underpass entrance. That's on Boulder County property. A second sign will be added in the next few weeks on Indiana. That one is on Westminster property. Kyle.
I mean, they're great trails, but there are also lots of trails there in the foothills where there's no risk of glowing.
And that's certainly one aspect of this. The Boulder County sign is on a beautiful side of Boulder County open space. Those folks we heard from today were saying maybe when you get to that sign, just turn around and find a trail back that way.
It's an out and back, Evan, is all that is.
There you go.
It's an out and back.
Yeah.
All right, Evan Krugel, thank you. Having a newborn can be incredibly isolating, even for mothers with supportive families and friends. Remove that support system, and the early stages of motherhood are scary, even dangerous. That's why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports the nonprofit Thriving Families. Their MotherWise program offers group workshops and one-on-one coaching for pregnant women in the Denver metro area, work that has been studied to reduce early births and to give those moms the skills they need to be strong parents. Their La Luz program focuses on reducing postpartum depression to keep mom and baby safe. And then Thriving Families' other programs continue in the Denver metro area in English and in Spanish, helping moms of newborns succeed at that time when the right intervention can change the trajectory of 2 generations. Young families that might otherwise face instability, chaos, even abuse, instead are steered towards success and good health and happiness. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get the link to donate. You know the deal. Even $5 helps because a bunch of people are going to do it. 5 years of pooling your $5 donations has raised $17 million for nonprofits in Colorado. And I will never sit here and ask you to give at home if I don't. So I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us going. More than 7,000 of you have signed up to make a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund. You put in your info one time, pick how much you want to give, and your donations automatically split among all the nonprofits that we feature. Also keeps you off the mailing list. We expect that to mean almost $50,000 for each weekly campaign this month. State energy regulators are getting chewed out by Xcel customers hit by last month's preemptive power shutoff and high winds.
I'm most excited about building out the festival in a new way.
The Great American Beer Festival tries to find a way to stay alive as the craft beer boom goes bust. That's next. Colorado's energy regulators are gathering feedback from Xcel customers as they consider new rules for planned power shutoffs during extreme weather. The Colorado Public Utilities Commission just wrapped an online public hearing. 2 years ago, PUC laid out the ground rules for these shutoffs after the first time that Xcel did a preemptive cutoff to reduce wildfire risk. Customers at the time said Xcel's communication was horrid, and they sat in the literal dark for days. Xcel did another one of these shutdowns in December, cut off power to more than 100,000 people on the Front Range. At today's hearing, customers acknowledged the communication is better, but still confusing, and they want the state to have a system to refund people for financial losses during long outages. The governor has not liked how Xcel handled either of these shutoffs, and this month, Boulder City Council sent a letter to Xcel outlining their concerns. They want compensation for the people impacted, and they want better infrastructure in the area so these preemptive shutoffs are less frequent. Let's check with meteorologist Chris Bianchi. We have been telling the sad tale of the snow season up in the high country this year, potentially turning for the better?
Yeah, Kai, you can say it. I've been a wet blanket all winter talking about our lack of snowpack. It is our worst snowpack date on record across the state, but I have some good news, or at least some potential good news to talk about in regards to our lack of snow. La Nina, that is the primary driver of what's led to our very dry and also mild winter. It's a domino effect of weather caused by cooler than average sea surface temperatures in the Central Pacific. But those temperatures are warming up. Point being, the La Nina now currently forecast to end very soon, if not in the next couple of weeks, which could trigger a more active spring. And I've been looking at some of the longer range computer forecast models. They are showing a pretty strong signal for a pattern flip in the middle of February. So fingers crossed that we will start to change things up a little bit. Now, we do have some snow to talk about in the mountains. This is not very much snow for us here, folks. This is not even a drop in the bucket in terms of what we need. 1 to 4 inches along and north of I-70. Most of that snow tonight and to early tomorrow. As I mentioned, not exactly a powder day, but I suppose if you're going up to Steamboat, a few inches of fresh snow up there. And that 7-day forecast in Denver, we are dry until at least next Tuesday. That's our next chance for some rain or snow for us here in town, but those temperatures over the next few days will be in the 40s, and then warming up to near 60 for us this weekend, so continuing what's been a very dry and very warm winter.
Our next question tonight comes from a viewer named Jenny, who wants to know whether Denver's controversial flock license plate reading cameras were used to track down the arson suspect in that recent 5-alarm construction site fire. That is a smart question, Jenny, because we have talked about cameras being involved in tracking the suspect. But as far as we know, they were not the flock cameras. Instead, investigators pieced together shots from dozens of cameras, including private security cameras, police halo cameras, and RTD's cameras, to track that suspect from a housing complex in Aurora to a gas station where investigators say he filled a container with gas, and then eventually to that apartment complex on Leetsdale. Investigators then got a clear picture of his face from a security camera inside an Indian restaurant. They put that picture into 2 facial recognition databases, one with the DMV and the other one from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and it was those databases and that picture from the Indian restaurant that gave investigators a name. That was a smart question. Send us your next question. It could be written, could be video, can be audio. Email it to next@9news.com. Text next 303-871-1491.
We have a lot of time to figure out all the details that a lot of people are wondering about.
Whole lot of questions about what exactly is going to happen with the Great American Beer Festival moving outside after decades. Organizers acknowledged they don't really have answers. The Great American Beer Festival has a problem. This is not a great time for American beer, craft beer specifically, and the fest has been less festy each year for some time. Now that shrinking celebration of craft beer is leaving the convention center's enormous indoor space for a park across town. Our Mike Grady met up with the organizers from the Brewers Association in Boulder to ask about the future of GABF.
Countless geese visited Levitt Pavilion today. They had no trouble getting there, hanging out, even enjoying a snack. It's a situation Ann Obenchain
It's just going to be really fun.
hopes to replicate with people and beer this October.
What could be better than being with your friends outside?
Ann is the VP of Marketing for the Brewers Association.
We promote and protect craft beer.
The BA runs the Great American Beer Festival.
For the last 25 years, it's been at the Colorado Convention Center. This year, we are going outside to the Levitt Pavilion.
Moving the country's largest beer festival outside isn't simple.
We have a lot of time to figure out all the details.
Details, like getting people there and home safely.
Some of those include public transportation, some of them include rideshare, some of them include designated drivers.
Accessibility for an outdoor venue on a hillside.
Still working on the floor plan and how that festival to be set up to remain accessible.
And of course, weather.
We are preparing to be out there, rain or shine.
GABF has been on the same downward trajectory as the craft beer industry over the past few years. 2019 was the busiest year for the festival with about 60,000 attendees and 800 breweries. Last year, it dropped to about 30 or 40,000 people and 400 breweries. Ann says the BA didn't want to cancel the festival.
We weren't ready to give up on GABF. GABF is still a very successful event loved by a lot of people.
I'm no ornithologist, but these birds look pretty happy. Ann hopes the folks sipping beers here in October will as well.
You know, it is a new event. It's a new venue. It's all new. Sometimes there's a little uncertainty with new, but also, I think, much more excitement.
For Next, I'm Mike Grady.
The Brewers Association says they expect about half the crowd size of last year's recent low, so about 15,000 people. More beer for all of us who go. Back with your feedback next. Bringing a child into this world as a mother without a strong support system is a tremendous act of courage. Thankfully, the nonprofit Thriving Families has researched and proven programs to help those young families find stability and safety and success. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of other folks in giving to support Thriving Families' work. They offer individual and group therapy, classes for pregnant moms. Then they come along with postpartum support for these moms in the Denver metro area as well. They help families overcome generations of struggle and trauma to create a fresh start that helps to change the trajectory of those families. Frank in Golden tonight, the observant sort, writes, when Marshall Zellinger was reporting on the Trump administration targeting blue states' SNAP benefits, I noticed he was wearing blue glasses. Well done, Marshall. I will note, Marshall also has red glasses, and I beg of you, for his sake, please don't read anything into when he wears each of them. You'll make him crazy. Don't do it.